Hey, so setting up another scene for Perth. Once more, we are in the back room at Leon's store, where now he's meeting with Sebastian Hallowell, the Ventru Primogen. Describing the room, since I don't think Sebastian's been there before. It's basically where he meets with his various mortal clients. It's got a few things that are probably just mystical for the look of them, and a few things that might actually be mystical. And he's seated across the table from Sebastian. It's like, thank you for making this.
Not a problem, Your Grace.
We've got a couple things to discuss. First thing is, given the number of gangrel in the city and how active they're being, I'm currently inclined to give them a seat on the council.
Okay.
Technically, I can create positions, choose to do so as prince, but I figured I'd at the very least get feedback from the various primogen.
Well, if they are indeed, there's a number. It would be in the clan's best interest for someone to speak on their behalf. Somebody else outside of their clan speaking as if they were them.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, a number of clans that do have primogen seats have less members in the city than the gang will do. So that, and they've been active enough and doing enough for the city that I think at the very least they should get a voice. And to be perfectly honest, they're not going to make any huge political waves, I doubt.
That might be. I wouldn't underestimate them.
Oh, I don't underestimate anyone, but for the most part, as far as agendas go, they don't seem to have any very strong ones.
That's a fair statement.
But in addition, I'm also discussing who my most likely who basically my top picks are right now for the 3 court positions that need to be filled right away. For Seneschal, I'm most likely going with Hannibal.
All right.
Among other things, politically, it's actually, for certain political reasons, it's a good move. Plus, I think he actually will do fairly well in his position. For the position of Scourge, I'm currently thinking Valiente is actually the best bet. He's got the right set of skills, and it roughly suits his personal ambitions. Finally, for Keeper of Elysium, I'm most likely going to go with Rafat. That said, I do know you have some interest in that, and I do believe he intends to make you a sword, which is essentially equivalent to a hound, only for the Keeper of Elysium as opposed to the Sheriff.
He looks kind of with a intrigued look on his face, and well then, seems like you have everything sorted out.
Yeah, I figured I would talk to each of the Primogen individually. Most of them have either, already, half of them, like when I mentioned my top picks, they were like, oh wow, I was going to try and come and, suggest that name to you anyways. Still haven't met with every Primogen, but it's just the Toreador, the Bruja, and who am I forgetting? Oh, yes, and the Malkavians.
Does Rafat have anything to show that he'll be a good keeper of Elysium?
Rafat, you okay? You joined the Lion's Mane just before became Prince, but certainly you're aware of the fact that he's been running the trench and fairly well for a while now. Now, that's obviously not the exact same thing as an Elysium, but he at least has the organizational skills to set something like this up.
You do realize that I was in charge of setting up Elysium with the previous prince. You are aware of that, right?
No, I was not aware of that. The previous
I
Prince.
actually knew, and I actually had quite a hand in doing that. But if you believe Rafat would make a better pick than I certainly wouldn't go against it.
Among other things, first off, we can, in the long run, have more than one Keeper of Elysium. But um, if I don't allow the Clan Tremere to save face by at least having one of the positions, there's going to be political issues. Um,
I'm sure there's other. Well, if that's the case, who did you have in mind for Harpy?
as far as Harpy goes, here's my view on Harpy. You don't point someone out that tell someone you be the Harpy and then they start acting like Harpy. Someone starts acting as if they are the Harpy and then they're recognized by the court as a whole as a Harpy. So if you wish to be Harpy, start pointing out when people are not doing their jobs, point it out, make fun of them. When people are doing well, give them a relatively small pat on the back. But harpies are not made, they make themselves.
In previous cities that I've been in, the Harpy was usually assigned by the Primogenic Council, but if this is the way you want to do it, it is different within each city. Then I think
If
that
usually, in most cities I've been in, the Primogenic Council has simply been acknowledging what already is the case, which is this person is a harpy, and now we officially recognize them as such.
well, I suppose our different cross-tracking has caused us to have different opinions of the position. But since this is now your city, then I guess you're right then.
Well, and I think I think if you focus on it, you can definitely make a very good harpy. Traditionally, Ventru and Toreador make some of the best harpies out there. So if you have your heart set on becoming a harpy, I have no doubt you can, show that you in fact are one. But yeah, there's two other positions that have been suggested for that we should be looking towards in the long term, but aren't immediately necessary to ensure that we've got a certain amount of stability in the court. Those being Chancellor and Warden.
Mm-hmm.
Chancellor, I talked this over to Hannibal. He said, for the time being, as Seneschal, he'd be happy to pretty much keep track of who owes what boons to who, which is pretty much what the Chancellor does. The Harpies are the ones that actually enforce this. The Chancellor just keeps track. And the other position is Warden, since we seem to have a fairly regular case of someone coming into the city who shouldn't be coming in, especially given, I don't know if you've heard yet, but it turns out we apparently have some Nagaraja in the city. If you're not familiar with the Nagaraja, they're a bloodline of necromancers that apparently are required to eat flesh.
That might be a problem for the masquerade.
Well, honestly, the biggest problem is that they showed up and they didn't, say, "Hey, we're coming in." That, to me, suggests that they are not intending to act in the best interest of the Camarilla.
Okay.
So, so in addition, I have recognized Abdul Fattah as as being a member of the city, and giving him the domain he had de facto, for pointing out, among other things, that the Nagaraja had shown up without bothering to say hello to the local prince. He's also willing to, once we've dealt with the Nagaraja, teach two members of the court necromancy in exchange for banning the Giovanni from the city. I'm pretty sure most of the Primogeniture Council is okay with this, but it will have to be brought up in a vote.
Such is the case.
Say again?
That such is the case.
Well, honestly, I don't think he wants to stay in town if the Giovanni are allowed. Or more accurately, I think he will want to flex his muscles and prevent the Giovanni from even showing up. And from what I've seen, he actually has some fairly big muscles to flex. We could probably drive him out, or stake or kill him, but it would likely be at great cost to us. And since he's perfectly willing to follow all of the traditions, I think we probably gain a bit more than we lose by banning the Giovanni from the city.
Do you think it's a good idea to ban Giovanni from the city?
Say again?
Do you really believe it's a good idea to ban Giovanni from the city?
Well, among other things, he is a fairly skilled necromancer. Between that and some of my gifts, I can fairly quickly tell when a group of necromancers has shown up that he doesn't like. At first I thought the Giovanni had shown up, and then it turns out, no, it was the Nagaraja. Which, are more of an issue.
My experience, the Giovanni have been more than willing to work with the masquerade because there's a profit in it. But if you want to throw caution to the wind and accept something such as the Nagaraja, then...
Oh, the Nagaraja I don't intend to accept to the city. The politest I'm going to be is, why did you decide not to present yourself to the prince? My thought is, from what I've heard, the Nagaraja are somewhat associated with the Sabbat, so probably not a good thing to have them in the city. I have heard of independent harbingers. I've not heard of independent Nagaraja, so...
Oh.
And from the sounds of it, they've been getting somewhat entrenched, and if my predecessor had been a bit more on the ball, or if I hadn't had to deal with a couple things shortly after becoming prince, we'd likely be better able to get rid of the Nagaraja. But yes, any comments you have, or anything you'd like to suggest?
No, sir.
I will let you know that I have put out the call. I think the city could benefit from a few more of your clan showing up, so we may have a couple of those showing up in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Whether or not that, I've said, hey, I'm welcoming of a few more eventually. Whether they show up or not It's obviously depending on the individuals.
Right.
But honestly, if with recent events as they are, a few clans have been a bit weakened, and so I think it's better to bring in a bit more fresh blood to help shore up the city. So, you know, anything else will probably end up being brought up at the Primogen Council meeting, where I'm certain at least one person will have something to bring up that I'm unaware of. That just tends to be the nature of these things.
Indeed.
Now, I'm glad to, but hey, hopefully you're settling into the city.
I've been slow for quite some time.
Yep. So, yeah. See you on Saturday then.
See you on Saturday.
All right. And with that, we will end this game.